I have to confess that when I was, am I loud? Okay, good. When I was preparing my talk, first of all, I just moved. I moved out here to Westlake Village. So for the past month, it's been absolutely crazy and nuts. And I'm already like a procrastinator as it is. So I'll wait till the last minute to do something. But I knew that I was going to be here during the month of questioning, talking. So I had a song prepared. I had my talk prepared. I knew what I was going to do, except I told no one but myself. But I was prepared. And so when I said to Dr. James, a few days ago, like at the beginning of the week, that I wanted to do this particular song, he said, no, I don't think so. I don't think the congregation will like it. I don't think that it'll work. What does that have to do with questioning? And full disclosure, it has nothing. But I like it, so we're going to do it. No, so he said, what does this have to do with questioning? And I explained to him what I thought this would be all about. Questioning. And in the meantime, I had contacted Donia as well to say, hey, do you think that you can do this song? Can you make this work? And again, she said, well, let me work on it. Because I really just gave her a couple of days to work on it. She said, let me work on it. Let me see if this is something we can do. Because the Grateful Dead version of the song, which I absolutely love, is very melodic, slow, and jammy. And then the other one that I found that was done as a cover is very funky and fun and upbeat. So I'd given Donia the task of melding the two together in a very short amount of time. And she nailed it. Did she not? I mean, she absolutely nailed it perfectly. It's melodic, it's jam, it's funky, it's everything. And as I was talking to James about this, and he was sort of saying, no, I don't know, you should consider a different song. I'm not sure that you can do that song on stage, and I'm not sure. I mean, first of all, for all you Grateful Dead heads, you're welcome. Me too. I love it. And for those who are new to that song, you're welcome too, because it's a great song, and I love it. So as Dr. James was saying, pick another song, I started to do questioning, right? All of a sudden, here's my mentor telling me that might not be the right song to play on stage. It's, we've never done the Grateful Dead. We've never done anything different and funky. But as you can tell, I like to be different and funky. So he basically said, try again. So for those of you who know me well, you know that my knee-jerk reaction right away when it comes to someone saying no to me is to get confrontational. Don't laugh. I heard you. And you. And you. I get confrontational. That's like my playground. Confrontation in the past has been my zip code, essentially. And I've learned in the past that, well, first of all, it did work for me, to be completely honest. Being confrontational did work for me for a very long time until it didn't. And then I moved into conforming. Conforming because maybe other people are right, and maybe there's something there for me to learn, and maybe there's something for me to understand and grow and learn from. And that served me for a while as well, until it didn't anymore, to continue to conform. So when I posed Dr. James the question about this song, and he said no, these two things came. I know you're shaking your head, Mark. Is it good? Okay. These two experiential feelings came up for me. And I know last week Dr. James talked about we're out of the information stage. We're now in the experiential of it. And I think that's so completely true. I really feel the experience of so much. I mean, especially what's happening here in this country. There's so much experience that you have emotionally. I might. Yeah, I think I'm going to trade because I think this is getting a little too. Thank you so much. Is this okay? Better? Thank you. I was hearing my own P's, and I've been practicing my P's in the back with Stan Gelperson, and now I feel a little bit better. So the two emotions came up for me, which were confrontational, my old playground, and conforming, which semi-old playground. But as I've gotten into this teaching, and the more rooted I am in it, I've now come into a quiet curiosity. So when confrontation first came up, and I understood what place that was coming from, it was coming from that ego side of being told no. And I don't like being told no. I don't like someone to say no to me without having a good reason. And then moving into conforming, which is, okay, maybe someone knows better. And this is my mentor telling me that he doesn't necessarily think this would be the right choice. So I should conform to that. But then I got into the question, because I did question myself. I thought, maybe I'm wrong. I'm obviously wrong. I mean, this is somebody who knows more than I do. This is someone whose consciousness I really revere. Maybe this person is right. And so I got to questioning my questioning. Why was I questioning myself? If I knew so well that this was something that I actually wanted to, this was a song that was going to inform my talk. This was the song that was going to make me feel, back to the experience, make me feel like I was in that place of consciousness, of how, I can't even explain but just feeling in my skin, feeling in my own. If I felt this already, but someone is questioning me about it, now I'm questioning myself. So I began to question my questioning. And in that questioning, I got silent, I got quiet, and I got curious. And I began to listen to the confrontation that showed up, and I began to listen to the conforming that showed up. And when I listened to that still small voice inside of me that said, no, actually, this is the song that you want to do. This is the place that you want to go. In the song, there's a lyric that says, sometimes we live in no particular way but our own. And so how I interpret that to be is that we generally just live our lives, right? We just, for the most part, we get that opportunity to just live, to live out loud or live low or live however we want, but in no particular way but our own. What is endemic, what is ours, what is our staple. But as the lyrics continue, it says, and sometimes we ride on your horses, sometimes we walk alone. And to me, when you ride on the horses, that's two versions. So the one horse that for me, that's the horses of others' opinions, whether they're familial, society, mentors. You ride on the opinions, the horses of what they believe, and you take those as your own. And sometimes you walk alone, outside of those, stepping outside of what somebody else tells you. Again, whether it's your family, whether it's your community, whether it's your society, whether it's the world. When you wake up to find out that you are the eyes of your world, then those horses, those beliefs, are something that you no longer need. And so that's what happened for me. When I sat there and I thought about the song and how I wanted to use it, I realized this is something that I have to do on my own. So I called Dr. James back and I said, this is what I really want to do and how I want to tie it into the questioning, into the eyes of the world, how you are the eyes of the world. You are the eyes of your own world. I don't possess Reverend Karen's eyes to know her world. I share a world with her, but she's created her own world. I said to Dr. James, I really do want to do the song. And in that, the funny part of it is at the end he said, you know what, you're right. It's your talk. You get to choose whatever you want. And what I love about that is I think he'll deny this, but I think he had his own questioning to do about trying to control or trying to decide for me what I should have. I'm sure he did. He'll deny it. I'm sure he'll say he didn't, but I know he did. You all know he did. So in his own questioning, and as we came to each other, really coming from remembering who we are, I remembered who I was, and I know Dr. James, who always, usually, remembers who he is. We spoke to each other from that place, from that namaste place of knowing who each other is, and allowed for what is to happen to happen. Now, the funny part is a quote from James Joyce also came up in me as we were having this conversation, because I said, Dr. James, I think this will be a great song. Either people will love it, or they won't love it, or they'll think whatever about it. And the quote by James Joyce that came up was that the pillar of discovery is always mistakes. So you might as well jump on the boat and do it. So, with that said, I was very grateful that Dr. James allowed me to discover, to move forth with this song and allow it to play through, because I do think when we talk about this song itself, again, the lyrics, the chorus of the song is, wake up to find out that you are the eyes of the world. Wake now, discover that you are the song that the morning brings. Wake now, discover that you are the eyes of the world. Is there any other world but the one that comes from your eyes? I don't think so. You're the one that's constantly creating this world. I can't imagine the world in your eyes as you can't imagine mine, even though we share this one consciousness, this one world. And so the beauty of all of this, in the eyes of the world, what you create in your world and what I create in my world through my eye, through my vision, and that's the vision that we have in our consciousness, we elevate the consciousness of the eyes of the world, or the I, as I like to say, of the world, the consciousness of the world. So the title of my talk today is Wake Now, Discover. Now I have a story for that. So as I was thinking about this, again, this song really resonates with me because you really are to wake now and discover that you are the song that the morning brings. What does that mean, that the morning brings? You are the song, you are the vibration, you are that tune that consciousness brings. Consciousness, and in I hate to use the word enlightenment, but when I think of mornings, when I think of being awake, I think of being enlightened. And by that saying, I mean, you're just really conscious of who you are. It doesn't obviously have to be in the morning, but it has to be in that moment of consciousness, of where recognizing, again, going back to recognizing and remembering who you are in order to open up and enlighten yourself in this world as yourself. So wake now, discover. Brad, I hope that you're not twitching back there. When I gave my title talk to Reverend Laurie, both Reverend Laurie and Karen sent me an email saying, where's the comma? Is it wake, now discover? Or is it wake now, discover? And I thought about it for a second, and again, being influenced, as Reverend Tiffany said earlier, you know, we've lived so much of our life being influenced by what's our exterior, right? You know, if I had decided to be influenced by my exterior, I would have been having Donia sing a different song, which quite honestly, full disclosure, it was her song, and it's an amazing song that she sang last weekend, that she sang last weekend in Palm Desert, and I hope that you will sing it. If not, put it up online and smear the world with this amazing song, because it's a beautiful song. So that would have been the song choice. Coming back to this, if I were to sit here and think, like, is that wake now discover? Or is it wake now, discover? And then, you know what came to me? Who am I to punctuate your world? Who am I to tell you where the comma belongs? And by the way, why does it have to be a comma and not an exclamation point? Wake now, discover. Wake now, discover. That's for you to choose. You are the eyes of the world. You are the one that gets to choose which punctuation and where it goes. What I love about this, Wake Now, Discover, is that it reminded me of all the possibilities. It reminded me of the talk that I gave I think it was about 2 months ago, when we talked about possibilities now, in every moment, this moment, and this moment, and the next moment, and every moment is filled, is rife with possibility. And you get to choose that possibility. You get to choose what that potential of that moment is. You don't have to bring the past into the moment. It's that moment that is full of all potential. So when I was thinking about Wake Now, Discover, it reminded me of a book that we read in our consciousness studies class. I know, quantum physics. Quantum physics is going to be like the new Broadway musical. Like, how long did that take? So when I was thinking about Wake Now, Discover, it reminded me a lot of what Paul Levy talks about in, he calls it the quantum paradox, or the great paradox. And think about this for a minute. So the great paradox, the quantum paradox, is this. Whatever you are contemplating is contemplating you. And the example that he used was a young child sitting at a window, contemplating the stars. And think about the stars now contemplating the young child. How powerful is that? When you stop to think that it's not just you that is contemplating something, it's that something contemplating you. Much like what Rumi says, what you seek is seeking you. So then the question becomes, what are you seeking? Do you stop enough to think about what you are seeking? For yourself, for your life, and for the grander consciousness that is. Wake. Now discover. Discover who you are. Discover what you're questioning. Discover who you're being in that question. And I think Reverend Eric said it perfectly. It's not just about the questioning, because so many of us can get caught up in the questions of our life, right? And I think sometimes, and I think you would agree with this, Reverend Eric, is it's uncomfortable to be in the question. Whatever the question is, to sit in that question. The question of the magnificent universe. I mean, this week has been crazy for me. So sometimes, questioning, being in the question was more like questioning the being, And suddenly I'm questioning myself. So my next quote was from Marcel Proust. In Wake Now Discover, Marcel Proust says, the real voyage of discovery consists not in new landscapes, but in new eyes. So again, I ask you, what are you contemplating that is contemplating you? Because you are full of possibility, full of potential, rife with life within you. And that potential exists now. If it's even stirring, it's something that wants to be known by you, which was Brad Kiefer's meditation. What wants to know me? And so I think that's a great question for each of us to ask ourselves, what wants to know me? Because I think we already know the answer. And as Dr. James says, it's not so much in the answer, it's in the experience. Much like treatment is for, Ernest Holmes talked about affirmative prayer, and the feeling behind the affirmative prayer is actually the fuel of it. And Thomas Trower talked about the belief of affirmative prayer being the fuel behind it. So what is your belief? Questioning your beliefs, questioning your feelings to understand that that is fueling your life. Your life is an affirmative prayer, constantly. What are you constantly affirming? I love this quote too. We cannot teach people anything. We can only help them discover it within themselves. That's by Galileo, a quote by Galileo. And I'll leave you guys with this final quote by Einstein. In this month of questioning, which I have to say, during this month, I have had so much questioning happening. And this particular week was sort of the apex of all of it, to kind of stand back and go, where am I coming from now? I recognize my old patterns, confrontation, conforming, and now getting into the question, the quiet question that within it reveals its own answers, and understanding that from that place, when I awake, now I discover. But it's in the question that allows me to open up to that waking. And so I'll leave you with this quote by Einstein. It's not that I'm so smart, but I stay with the question much longer. So what question are you staying with? And how much longer will you stay with it? Namaste.